Hi, this is Sujit Paul here. The prime point of today's podcast is we would like to share with you a recent session that we did in one of the institutes out in India. Primarily, it has to do with infection of aura. Now, what is this infection of aura? Now, people who have gone through these sessions, this may not be directly relevant to them as many of you would be knowing it. But primarily the infection that we are talking about is that when you tend to meet people, it could be very close people, usually there is a transmission of a huge sense of positiveness, mediocrity and averageness that actually translates. You must have heard of things like people may say that you have drank water of which city that you're speaking like this. This comes from very old saying that whatever you consume, you tend to be like that. Now, infection here is not in the form of a clinical infection that we are speaking about. It is the infection that actually happens on your psychology and on mind. And this is a very, very scary infection. We have seen that a good, healthy, vibrating person, when they tend to stay in an environment that is intoxicating, when they tend to stay in an environment knowingly or unknowingly, that is too much of toxic that the person don't even understand. And in most of the time in this part of the country where we have very strong family bondings, irrespective of whosoever it may be, either we don't understand or we understand and we don't do anything or can't do anything, or we kind of tend to get sponged into that and then that becomes what we are. Now, this is one very important and crucial thing that I've seen, that a person with a good virtue at times gets into a family, and then gradually over a period of time he or she becomes what the family is all about, usually from a not so good perspective. Now that's scary. Now when a friend or family comes in there and that person kind of starts infecting this person, and then gradually this infection crawls in and they actually pass on to that person. That's called a negative infection aura. It happens in both ways. There is a positive infection aura, there is a negative infection aura. Not to be shamed, at times all of us, because we are more humans, tend to do things which may not be so good, which may not be so right, but the concentration is what is important. You would have people who are at a 90% brim of negative concentration, you may have people who are at a 10% brim of negative concentration. So when a person is at a 10-15% brim of negative concentration, which many of us at times get into it, that's still okay and doable. But if a person is more than 70-75% of negative concentration, then it is very scary, because at times that pukes out and gets into someone else, unless that person is very robust. Usually, even if people say that they are very robust, it doesn't happen like that. It puts a layer on the topsoil of your mind, and that layer gradually tries to get into it. Now, what do you do about it? How do you address it? If it's your very own, then at times there are issues to address it. So there is where you get into a cutoff scenario, you get into a neutralization scenario, so on and so forth. I have practiced it over time. I have practiced it with very of my own blood relations. If I find that negative vibration rotating, I kind of cut off for some time. At times, for various reasons, you cannot just throw off from your life. But it is your own life. You need to know how to protect yourself. If you don't protect yourself, then it's up to you. So what I personally do is that I first tend to identify. So now this phase is equally important. You need to know how to identify those. For identifying, you need to have a calm mind. Reach us to us. We do identification sessions also. Our numbers are all there. Our email IDs are there. Reach us to us so that we can help you identify those kind of people who may or may not be so good for you. And then you need to build a wall on those people so that you kind of know that in spite of they being your friends, your good family, etc., you are still kind of not allowing that infrared to hit onto you. So reach out to us. We will have one-to-one sessions where we can guide you based on the understanding of your content of discussions of friends and families and the auras as to how to navigate each one of you to ensure that you know how to build your own fence to ensure that you are not only happy, but you are contented and you are positive in the life that you lead. Thank you so much for that.